what we have seen so far, we have already seen the equations of CML. CML was what? Capital market line. And then we have understood that if we have standard deviation, how to calculate expected return. If you have expected return, how to calculate. If you have standard deviation, how to calculate return. If you have expected return, how to calculate standard deviation. Given standard deviation weights, given return weights. Now next type of calculations would be on CAPM. So how do you do CAPM calculations? We've already learned this at corporate finance, so I'm going to be rather quick with this. Let's say risk-free rate of return is 10%, return on market 15%, beta of portfolio P is 1.5. What is the required return? Okay, so how do we calculate that? We will say RFR plus beta into equity risk premium, which is RM minus RFR. RFR is 10%, beta is 1.5 and RM minus RFR is 5%. So that would be 10% plus 7.5, 17.5%. Okay. Now, can I say that CAPM is essentially the equation of SML? Do you agree? Now listen to me carefully to answer your question that why it was undervalued. If this 17.5 means that this is what is required to earn out of stock, this is what we need to earn to justify the level of risk. But what if you build a financial model on this asset P and your financial model tells you, or your expert fundamental analysis tells you, that you can easily earn 20% on the stock today. So if you are going to earn more than what is required, your portfolio will lie above the SML. But if you are going to earn less than what is required, then your portfolio is going to lie below the SML. And therefore we said that if the portfolio is above the SML, then it is undervalued because we are earning more than what is required. And if the portfolio is below the SML, then it is overvalued. Okay, so I make this quick summary with me. If required return is more than expected return, expected or actual return, then the stock is, tell me, how many of you feel overvalued? How many of you feel undervalued? Overvalued. Okay. Required return is what we get from CAPM. Required return means how much at minimum we should earn. So let's say we should earn minimum 15%. But if the portfolio is giving us only 12%, then the stock is giving us less. It is a overvalued stock. Making sense? And if it is overvalued, then it would lie, tell me, above or below? Below SML. LIE, lie below SML. If required return is same as expected return, then it is correctly valued. And in that case, it will lie on SML. Then we are going to be on the line. We should earn 15% and expected is also 15%. And if required is less than expected, that means required is 15 but expected is 17%. We are earning more. Now therefore this is a undervalued stock, and undervalued would lie above SML. So don't lose on these easy points on the exam. You don't even have to remember this. Expected means what I am actually going to get. Required means कम से कम इतना मिलना चाहिए. Minimum that we expect to earn. Minimum that we require to earn. So if we are expected to earn more, it's an undervalued stock and therefore above. If you are expected to earn less, it's a overvalued stock and therefore it would be below. If you are expected to earn same, correctly valued, on the line. Is that fine? Okay. Now, next concept we would be learning to calculate 4 ratios which are considered really important in the portfolio management world. Out of those 4 ratios, 2 of them you already know, and remaining 2 are based on what you already know, which means you already know all the 4 ratios. You just need to know that you know them. So the first one is Sharpe ratio. Sharpe ratio would be calculated as return on portfolio minus RFR divided by standard deviation of portfolio P. Second ratio is called trainer ratio. Return on portfolio P minus RFR, but instead of writing standard deviation, now we are going to write beta of portfolio P. And trainer ratio was actually the slope of CAPM line. Okay, now I've seen people at CFA Level 2 and Level 3 making this mistake. What they think is that beta is the slope of SML line, which is wrong. Beta is x-axis on the SML line. The slope of SML is trainer ratio of market. Slope of security market line is trainer ratio of market, and trainer ratio of market was return on market minus RFR divided by beta of market. But since beta of market is always 1, we don't write that, and therefore simply return on market minus RFR, which is nothing but equity risk premium. Is that fine? Then next one is Jensen's alpha. It seems like a very fancy term, but what Jensen's alpha actually means is expected oblique actual return minus required return as per CAPM. Okay, so don't worry about the formula given in notes, just remember this thing. How much am I actually earning minus how much do I need to earn or do I require to earn. So let's do an example on alpha. Expected oblique actual return minus required return as per CAPM. Let us say that expected return on a stock is 20%, risk-free rate of return 10%, return on markets 15%, and beta is 3. Then you will say expected return minus required return. Expected here is 20% minus required is as per Capm, so 10 plus 3 into 5, which would be how much? 20% minus 25%. Alpha is how much? Minus 5. Now alpha is minus 5%. Is it a good news for investor? No, it is not, because he is earning less than what is minimum required, which means if alpha is negative, again the same conclusion, the stock is overvalued, it will lie below SML. Right, so these are the kind of questions you can expect to see on the exam. If X anti-alpha is positive, X anti-alpha, X anti means forward looking, future, and X post means historical. So in this formula, if I am using expected, it is X anti-alpha, whereas if you are using actual, then it is X post alpha. Are you following me? That if you are doing calculations for future, that how much Hindustan Unilever will earn me this year, then you are forecasting in future ex ante. But if you're doing calculations in the past that how much HUL actually earned me, then it is ex post alpha. So on the exam you might see a question which says ex ante alpha is positive. Is the security currently undervalued or overvalued? Undervalued. If ex ante is positive, that means we are earning more than what is required. That means it's an undervalued stock, or vice versa. Is that fine? Should I clear up the screen? The last ratio now is M squared ratio. So either written as M square or written as M squared ratio. It is called M squared because it was developed by Franco Modigliani and his granddaughter Le Modigliani. Now the ratio looks fancy, but this ratio will get you the same answer what otherwise a Sharpe ratio will get you. Okay, so if there are 3 portfolios, in fact 5 portfolios, A, B, C, D, E, you want to select one of them, you will calculate Sharpe ratio, and the one which is lowest you will select that. Do you agree? Sharpe ratio, should we select lowest or highest? Are you sure? Okay. So then one which is highest, we will select that. That means we will select portfolio, let's say D. Now instead of using Sharpe ratio, if you calculate M square, your selection will always be D. That means result that Sharpe ratio will produce and M square will produce will always be same. But M square does calculation in a slightly different way. Okay, so let's do an example. Let us say return on market is 20%. Standard deviation of market is 5%. Risk-free rate of return 10%. Return on portfolio P is 30%. Standard deviation of portfolio P 5% again. Now first thing, let us calculate a Sharpe ratio for each one of them. 20 minus 10 divided by 5, what is the Sharpe ratio? 2. 30 minus 10 divided by 5, what is the Sharpe ratio? 4. Okay. Now how do you want to think of this? Think of Sharpe ratio as, how do we think of Sharpe ratios? As the average of your scooter. Do you remember the scooter analogy? The per liter kilometer that we can run on a scooter, and this is Sharpe scooter of market, and this is the efficiency or average, that means number of kilometers per liter of scooter of P, that is our scooter. Now we can, by looking at the mileage itself, we can say that 4 is better, it is giving us better efficiency. But how M square does that is, it says the average of scooter P, that means mileage of scooter P, multiplied with the petrol used by market. Petrol analogy is similar to standard deviation, minus what is the excess number of kilometers market could ride or market could cross. So average of scooter P is 4. That means per liter our portfolio gets us 4 returns. Market has used how much risk? 5. So ideally markets should have run how much? 20. But after RFR, markets have been able to earn only 10%. So your M squared ratio is 10%. Now I think are you feeling confused? Forget scooter analogy. Remember the formula. Sharpe ratio of R portfolio. Okay, in your notes it's the formula would look completely different, but it will get you the same answer. Just remember the way I'm writing it. Sharpe ratio of R portfolio multiplied with standard deviation of market minus RM minus RFR. So Sharpe ratio of R portfolio is how much? 4. Standard deviation of market is how much? 5. Minus RM minus RFR is how much? 10. That will get us M squared ratio of 10%. Done writing? How do you interpret that? Sharpe ratio means per unit of risk, how much return, how much extra return do we earn over and above RFR. So our portfolio per unit of risk has been able to earn extra return of 4%. So market took risk of 5. How much extra return market should have earned? And that's why I was saying that this is the mileage per liter and this is the petrol used. So mileage of our vehicle, our scooter, and the petrol used by market. That means with the efficiency that we have set, how much returns market should have earned? 20%. But markets could earn extra return of how much? Only 10%. That means we are 10% more efficient than market at 5% consumption of petrol or 5% standard deviation. Do you want to do one more? So let us say return on markets 25%, RFR 5%, standard deviation of market 4%, return on portfolio P 20%, standard deviation of portfolio P is 3%. No. Okay, fine, 3%. Now calculate M squared. So first you calculate Sharpe ratio of your portfolio. Okay, so Sharpe ratio of our portfolio is 20 minus 5 divided by 3, which is 5. Then Sharpe ratio of our portfolio into standard deviation of market minus equity risk premium. So Sharpe ratio of our portfolio is 5, standard deviation of market is 4, and equity risk premium of market is 20. Therefore M squared 0. And that makes sense because market also had a Sharpe ratio of 5. Right? So the average of both the scooters is same. Your scooter is no better than the market scooter. Are we fine here? Okay. Good then. So with this, we are through.